What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Crypto with Leo YouTube video. Now, we have some major stories to run through today, two topics to be specific. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be covering. One, as you can see on screen, is a major story that is not getting the coverage that it needs to be, guys, and that's why I want to bring it to you. And that is that we could see some huge decisions made over in the EU today. That's because they are taking a vote which could have a massive impact on the whole cryptocurrency market. And as you can see, it is to do with a certain type of asset, not Bitcoin specifically. That is definitely encompassed in what they're voting. However, we will dive into that later on in the video. Now, the next topic that we're going to be running through, there's only two today, is to do with the lawsuit. And that is just going to be a complete overview of why last week's decision was so important, the three options that we currently have in front of us of how this case could end, and also what we have looking forward to, or what we have pretty much coming next in the lawsuit. Now, I'd like to welcome anyone that is new to this channel or anyone that is always watching these videos. I massively am grateful for the support. If you have not already, make sure to click that subscribe button and do something absolutely free as well. If you can like and comment as well, that really helps out with the algorithm. Anyway, guys, without further ado, let's jump into it. The famous cartoon. Let's go. So as you can see on screen, guys, the MiCA amendments proposed last-minute revived threat of EU ban on Bitcoin. And the reason they're saying last minute is exactly what I'm going to cover right here. This is because originally this vote that the EU were going to have was thrown out of the picture. It was very specific on actually banning Bitcoin in itself within the EU because of its unsustainable energy consumption or use for what it needs to run. So let me just read you through these tweets because it kind of encompasses the things really well, and then we can get into the update and how they've actually changed it. So bad news for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the EU. The proof of work ban has drastically or has basically made its way back into the draft of the European Parliament that will be voted on in the committee on Monday. Now, 4 days of Rapporteur tweeted that his new compromise dropped any ban addressing of proof of work. Now, just before the vote last minute, bear in mind, so that pretty much originally there was a vote that would completely ban proof of work. That got thrown out the window. It has basically been rewritten and brought back in to be voted on today, guys, Monday. That, proof of work could be banned, essentially. Now, just before the vote, a last-minute draft brings back the ban. This is totally unexpected, and I was too quick to dismiss this yesterday night. And as you can see right here, this is how they've changed it. The wording of proof of work ban has changed, but the effect is essentially the same. Crypto assets that are deemed unsustainable will be prohibited from being issued, offered, or admitted to trading. And of course, this is relating to, but not specifically, assets that use the proof of work. Simple ones to think of right now is Bitcoin and Ethereum. And just hearing those names, that should explain to you why this could have such an impact on the market, with both of those holding the 1 and 2 spot in regards to size of the market cap, market dominance as well. If those two take a hit, guys, the rest of the market will follow and it will bleed. So it's important to understand that. So as it says on here, this is basically what they're voting on. Crypto assets shall be subject to minimum environmental sustainability standards with respect to the consensus mechanism used for validating transactions before being issued, offered, or admitted to trading in the union. Now, one thing I will say, guys, is there are ways to, utilize or with proof of work that you can do it in a sustainable manner. So I'm kind of confused with the ban in itself and how, kind of broad it is, because there will be ways around it from, what I can see at first glance. So it'll be interesting to see it play out. Now, crypto assets that are issued, offered, or admitted to trading in the union before, and then please enter a date, blah, blah, shall set up and maintain a phased rollout to plan to ensure compliance with such requirements in accordance with the conditions and criteria referred to paragraph 3. So obviously going into more detail on what they said in the first. Now, existing cryptocurrencies shall set up and maintain phased rollout plan. So as you can see, guys, this is definitely going to put a lot of pressure. And as I jump back onto here, you can really see, how it's going to be playing out, basically. Bitcoin banning measures seem too close to call in Monday's EU Parliament vote. That is because there's a lot of people actually involved in this vote that have publicly come out and say, we don't know how this has even got here, but it is. And the thing is, I do want to cover as well, it is somewhat a bittersweet because, on one side, we're like, okay, damn, this could really have an impact on the cryptocurrency market. They might be banning proof of work. They're looking for more sustainable methods, etc. But then you're also thinking, no, this is actually the start of regulations. Now it is really being taken in for votes and to be spoken about. So, how this vote ends up. Now, whether it's going to be no, people are not happy with it, they vote against it, or they vote for it, which will have an impact on the market, it is going to be very interesting to play out. And that's why I kind of reference a bittersweet moment. Now, still, people familiar with the matter said the slim majority of parliamentarians could defeat a controversial new MICA provision. Now, I just want to cover what a MICA is. It's markets in crypto assets. Is a proposed regulation in EU law. It is intended to help streamline distributed ledger technology, DLT, and virtual asset regulation in the European Union whilst protecting users and investors, blah, blah, classic. That seeks to force proof of work cryptocurrencies to shift to more energy friendly consensus mechanisms. Now, of course, a lot of people say, well, Ethereum's already moving over to proof of stake. However, with no specific date, this will definitely put a lot of pressure on ETH to do so. Moving on, however, I think, yeah, it's definitely a story that needed to be covered. I wanted you guys to kind of understand, yes, the EU is making these moves as well. This could actually have a big impact on the market. So whether we see that actually impacted today in regards to price, we'll definitely be able to watch it play out. But let me know down in the comments, guys, what you think is going to happen. Do you think they'll vote for it or against it? I'm interested. Now, one thing I did remember, obviously, from reading through the executive order that went through last week, is that the US are very much on the same page. And you guys can read this as well. If you go down to section 1, and then we go down to F, which is right here, they very much talk about we must support technological advances that promote reasonable development and use of digital assets. The technological architecture of different digital assets has substantial implications for privacy, national security, the operational security and resilience of financial systems, climate change, and the ability to exercise human rights, blah, blah. So basically what they're really covering here as well, and they covered it quite a few times, is how much they are focusing on as well sustainability and the importance of, climate change, etc., and how these things could affect it in the future. All goes back to proof of work, guys, because historically we've seen it with China in the past, the amount of times they banned Bitcoin. We're now somewhat seeing maybe this catch up and this rollout, whether it will be streamlined a bit faster, we do not know, of how the US are going to handle it and how the EU are going to handle it. One thing, guys, and one thing we can know for sure, that if there are ways to sustainably do these things, whether that be to do with Bitcoin and Ethereum, countries will look to jump on it. And I think that's why they're trying to build regulatory clarity. It all links back to the hidden race, guys. All of these guys want clear regulatory framework so they can have a system, or at least an economy that can, be safe and for these companies to harvest and chill out together, because it will do absolute wonders for their economies. So I think that's a very important thing to see. And that is why we're seeing all of them do it at the exact same time. Executive order, EU having a vote. It is not by coincidence, guys. It is literally because it is happening right in front of our eyes. Now, the next thing we're jumping onto, guys, is, as you see, we're jumping into the lawsuit. We saw some major updates last week, that being that the court basically denied the SEC's motion to strike Ripple's fair notice defense. And a lot of people are sleeping on the actual importance of that and how much of a hit that was for the SEC. So obviously I've got some notes next to me, but we're going to really run through why this is going to make this case extremely difficult for the SEC. And this was a massive win. Now, of course, there's a lot of speculation going around about could we now see a settlement? Is this going to happen anytime soon? Of course, guys, reality is, you know what, actually, I'm going to cover it because there's 3 scenarios that we could see, or how this lawsuit could quite literally end. Or at least it used to be 2 for me, now it is 3, and these all make very much sense, and they are in Ripple's favor, as you would expect. Now, this is a really interesting tweet I found, and it says, if the SEC doesn't settle with Ripple, they will lose on fair notice defense. And that is a very big fact. I think people are really dismissing how important this fair notice defense is. However, you should not jump and think to yourself, oh, we need it to settle now because of the fair notice defense, because that doesn't give Ripple and XRP the clarity, the absolute clarity that we all want. However, he outlined some amazing points that really support this fair notice defense. Let's jump in. Ripple's been in business since 2012, which is very true. That's when Ripple was founded. No SEC action was made. Now, of course, it was going to be made in 2012. However, the SEC are alleging that Ripple had been selling XRP in the form of an investment contract, obviously as a security, since 2013 up until 2020. So why in that whole time did they not make a move and, push these allegations further? If they knew they were doing it back then, why has it taken them 8 years to come at them now? The next one is 2. Ripple settled with FinCEN in 2015, no SEC action. That is a very true story. Quickly, for those that do not know who FinCEN are, they are the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, is a bureau of the United States Department of Treasury that collects and analyzes information about financial transactions in order to combat domestic and international money laundering. And that is exactly what this was actually about between Ripple and them. It was a FinCEN and Department of Justice settle anti-money laundering charges against cryptocurrency company Ripple Labs. And it was actually in the form of a settlement, or at least a payout, of which Ripple did a pretty much $500,000 will be deemed satisfied by Ripple's forfeiture to the DOJ of that amount. So yeah, and as you can see up here, on May 5th, Ripple Labs entered into the consent decree with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network under the Ripple admitted to conduct that violated US anti-money laundering, or AML, laws, and agreed to take remedial measures to prevent future violations. So of course they did very well. Obviously they clearly did something wrong, owned up to it, paid the fine for it, and have now, absolutely come back stronger than ever, as most of these lawsuits should go. But the problem is, with it being a government body, with them getting into trouble with them, and at this point that being to do with anti-money laundering, you would at least think if the SEC, bearing in mind this is in 2015, so at this point the SEC are claiming that Ripple had been selling XRP as an investment contract for 2 years now, since 2013. So why did they not take any action at that time either? Another very clear point of how weird this situation is, and the fair notice, or how strong the fair notice defense is in Ripple's favor, which is why it's a no-brainer that Judge Torres voted to deny the SEC's motion to strike. Now, the third one, and they did miss one out, which we're going to jump into, is Brad Garlinghouse met with the SEC many times in 2017 to 19. No SEC action. That is absolutely true. There are statements and video footage of Brad Garlinghouse saying that he was in meetings, weekly meetings, I think it was like every Wednesday, in the SEC office, trying to work out some form of clarity surrounding XRP. However, was never, ever, ever given a clear answer. Never, which actually leads on to why we've seen the Commissioner Roisman in a meeting saying he didn't know why he was here when the lawsuit actually came about. And one more that they did miss out was obviously number 4, and this is to do with fair notice, was Bill Hinman's speech in 2018, where he claimed Bitcoin and Ethereum and how they raised funds to develop their networks, or at least Bitcoin had clarity, but he dismissed how Ethereum raised their funds to obviously develop their network. He completely dismissed that and said that is not classed as security. Now, of course, the SEC at the time was saying this is just his personal opinion. That's how they're defending it. However, that was as much clarity as the space had at that point. That was all these cryptos had to go off of, including XRP, including Ripple. That was somewhat, the biggest form of clarity, or how they would define what security is. They would have seen that and be like, hey, we did something somewhat similar to Ethereum, so we must be absolutely fine then. But they didn't. So that is why it's one of their strongest defenses as well. And that's actually why it dives into it in the motion right here. 2 massively important points, which I covered in the last one. In June 2018, the SEC's Director of Corporate Finance stated the SEC did not consider the virtual currencies Bitcoin and Ether to be securities, and that it would be put aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ether and look instead at the present state of Ethereum. So what is different with XRP and with Ripple? That is the question. And that is what obviously lands into this fair notice defense, which is so unbelievably strong. And then it also goes into another piece of fair notice defense. And this is literally how stacked it is, guys. I just want to make this clear in front of your mind. So if anyone ever asks you any questions, or at least you can fully understand how strong the fair notice defense is. Another one they missed off of here, or that at least aligns with this last one, Brad Garlinghouse meeting with the SEC between 2017 and 2019, was the fact that there was actually a cryptocurrency platform that met with the SEC in 2019. And they asked it, is XRP classed as security? Because we're about to list this asset on our platform. To which the SEC officials have stated publicly that digital assets may be considered securities. Obviously, that was the wrong part just there. The platform sought guidance on whether the SEC considered XRP a security. During the meeting, the SEC did not say that it considered XRP to be a security. So obviously that, again, playing into this fair notice defense. So yeah, overall, guys, it is absolutely stacked. And I've got written down here 3 ways that I at least think that this lawsuit is going to end, because right now the SEC, does not look good for the SEC at all. So these are my 3 ones. We've got the fair notice defense. This obviously aligning with the recent news, or the fact that the recent motion that got denied, or the SEC's motion that got denied, sorry. And that would be that if this lawsuit settled on a fair notice defense, Problem with that, it would give XRP no clarity. However, it would destroy the SEC's chances at ever going after another crypto asset for these same reasons. As I stated in the last video, guys, that is because every one of those assets would just utilize this case right here as case law and prove, well, if Ripple didn't have fair notice and your allegations align in the same time frame as this, you're stating that we were doing something wrong within this time frame, then we're in the exact same boat. We had no idea. We had no fair notice. Now, of course, that is definitely going to put or hinder the SEC ever moving forward, which is why they will not want it to end this way. However, that is the pressure that's on them. Now, the next one is a settlement, which is what the SEC could do as opposed to taking a fair notice defense loss. And that is because this, although this would be positive for XRP as well, a settlement could give XRP absolute clarity. However, it would save the SEC's face, which is good for the SEC, because it would leave them the ability to reign dominant force within the crypto space, which, I mean, seeing as the executive order came out recently, that's probably something they're interested in doing because they want to be a part of that, or part of the US government that is going to help in the regulations or the regulatory building of for crypto, basically. And the last one, guys, is, of course, you know, the one that, you know, everyone in a beautiful world or ideal world would love to see. That is an all-out win for Ripple. That gives XRP absolute clarity. It would absolutely destroy the SEC ever going after another crypto asset, because that'd be to do with the fair notice as well, if that was still going on. Plus, it helps all of crypto. As I said, it would literally, this lawsuit is for the whole of crypto, because it would protect all other assets as well. However, and this is the one thing that wouldn't be good, it probably wouldn't be good for business for Ripple and XRP. As they've stated before, guys, the longer this lawsuit goes on for, the worse that is for business. And they've stated that in many filings before. They do not want it to drag on forever. And if it was to go for an all-out win, that would mean going to trial, which would take months and months, possibly into 2023, which is something I do not believe Ripple want to do. However, I mean, you never know. They could just feel the need to drag it out. But remember, they have investors, they have shareholders. So these are all people that you have to account for as a company when going through things like this. The overall, those are the three options, all of them benefiting Ripple, of course, because they're all big dubs at the end of the day. They're all wins for Ripple. And that is just because right now, all burden is on the SEC to prove to the court that they are right, and as opposed to Ripple, who are very much able to somewhat right now sit back and just wait for these responses. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. Obviously, they have their different side battles, whether that be their independent cases that they have going on, that being Larsen and Garlinghouse. But yeah, we will see what happens. Now, on to just a brief overview of what we have to expect, because there are some big decisions to be made. We obviously have the motion for DPP to be reconsidered, and that being to obviously do with the SEC asking Judge Netburn to completely reconsider something to do with Bill Hinman's speech in 2018, stating, no, that speech had nothing to do with Bill Hinman's personal opinion. That was the opinion of the Corporation of Finance, which is a part of the SEC, one of their four sectors within the SEC. So that I'm going to be very interested to see the decision she makes on that. And all of you will be too. 100% will be making a lawsuit update. So make sure you tune in, subscribe if you're not already, and get post notifications on so you're always first to see it. And then the next one is really big as well, and this is one I'm really excited for, is the motion to compel the turnover of the Eastbrook notes. That being to do with a meeting between Garlinghouse and Commissioner Roisman. Eastbrook was the person taking the notes at the time. Now, for those to be handed over would be very, very important, because they would prove that this commissioner did not agree with Garlinghouse or this lawsuit being put upon Ripple. As he stated in the meeting, "I do not know why you're here." So that would very much support Ripple in this case as well, and once again put a burden on the SEC and a whole ton of pressure. So right now, these decisions, I can imagine, you know, SEC attorneys, lawyers, they're probably not sleeping the best at night. Likewise with the SEC, but it's going to be very interesting to watch it play out. In my opinion, though, those are the two biggest things that we are currently waiting on. But of course, there are a few other things as well, which I won't really go into too much detail in this video on, because like I said, those are the two near term we were waiting on, as we saw fair notice defense, which we've seen, and now it is a motion to reconsider DPP on Hinman's speech, and then it's also a motion to compel the turnover of Eastbrook notes from the meeting between Garlinghouse and Roisman. Now, guys, that pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to cover in this video. Thank you very much much for watching this this video and tuning in on my channel again. If you guys have not subscribed already, make sure to click that big red button, guys. I hope you're enjoying the daily content. Thank you again for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day. Peace out.